Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, I'm Valiance. I like talking about anything that comes to mind. Most of it is bullshit, to be completely honest with you, but today's going to be an interesting one. The topic of discussion today is the devolution of society. I'm using that term improperly, but I think there should be two different definitions for it because it fits so perfectly. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. The reason this video even came about, I always have a reason for these videos, obviously. That's why I make them. Anyway, the reason this came about, I got into a heated argument with this girl I was talking to over society and the things we can do individually to help. And she was frying me so badly, right? Because you can help people, but you can't help them if they don't want to be helped. And I was trying to explain that point, and she was just like, nah, you can help them. And I was like, all right, whatever. So one of the points that I had made was you can give people money to try and better their life, because I've personally done this. Nothing insane. I don't have an insane amount of cash, but I've here, hold this if you need it. And then a couple days go by, my money went to literally nothing good. So after that conversation, it kind of fucked me up a little bit because, bro, I kid you not, 30 minutes later, a couple different people had asked me for some money. And despite of the whole conversation that me and her had just had, I gave the money away, right? But the funny thing is, one of those people that had asked me, I had, by fate, came across them the very next day doing some stupid shit with my bread, I presume, coming out of their pocket. And it was just like, wow, this is exactly what I was talking about. And it genuinely made me feel sick because it made me realize how selfish people actually are. Granted, people are going through things and they probably have their best interest in mind over anyone else, especially my little bit of money. Who cares where it goes? I want to do what I want to do. The problem I find with that is with the amount of access we have to all the delightful pleasures in the world, you can live a life of pleasure forever and not get anything done. And I think that's where we're trending. And I always bring this up, and I'm going to bring it up again. It's the path of the Wally human, where you don't do anything, you just give into all your pleasures and get fat. To counteract that, I do think not everyone is like that. Because me, for example, I really want to achieve and I want to do great for myself. So I strive to do that. But for most people, they don't really care. And there really is no reason to care, especially if you have some sort of cushion from your family being successful, wealthy, or you just don't give a fuck. Because there's a lot of people who don't care. They can be in the worst situation and they just still will choose to do terrible things with their time, money, attention, and effort. Unfortunate, yeah, but true. And I think that goes into the next thing that I want to talk about, which is the declining IQ of our society. I 100% think this has to do with the internet and our unlimited access, once again, to information. And in theory, it should make you smarter having unlimited access to information, but that's not the case because of the way we apply it. For example, ChatGPT came, and it's been easier than ever for us to complete the mundane tasks of filling out information that doesn't necessarily matter to us, but in turn, it's not that it's not only that we aren't learning, but we aren't retaining the information either because of how easy it is. So it's a lose lose instead of a lose and a win, if that makes sense. That's probably the main reason because you just don't have to think anymore. And if you don't have to think, why think? And what are you thinking for? And the true reason why I see the algorithm as such a problem, especially to the younger generation, it kills critical thinking. And I think that's the most important factor for determining IQ. I'm not entirely sure if I'm correct about that, but I do think like book smarts and intelligence are completely determined by critical thinking, right? Street smarts as well, critical thinking. It's all critical thinking, but our critical thinking is being killed by the ability to be able to look anything up or have people think for us and pretty much just run our lives for us. Because why think if you don't have to? For example, think of the last time you'd had to remember somebody's phone number. You don't anymore. So that ability is just gone. But then let's use that as an example for something else. Whereas it'd be driving somewhere and finding a location, you can put it in your GPS. At least for me, I'm very good with directions and knowing my whereabouts. But I realize that if I drive somewhere and just strictly rely on my GPS, it takes me. This is not an exact um, representative of the amount of time it actually took, but it took me about 5 times longer to remember a place that I went to a bunch of times using my GPS only than actually trying to figure out like my surroundings with a little bit of help from the GPS and using like road signs and stuff. I do that sometimes because I want to get better at being available or being able to figure out what to do in situations if my GPS didn't work. It's really funny to me though, thinking about what would happen if there was some sort of apocalypse or fallout, because we are absolutely cooked. No one in our generation knows how to do anything without technology, which isn't even our fault. We've just been given it and it's made things so easy. It's kind of obsolete to take the extra time to learn how to do things. There's some people, select few, like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and then I guess people who go camping with their family. Me, I'm cooked, absolutely cooked. I might survive just out of being in shape and being able to, figure things out, but I have no skills as of right now. And it made me think a little bit more because our world would crumble. Everyone is addicted to drugs and alcohol. If anything happens and they can't get that, how will they function? Although the human mind is very, and there is a possibility this is subject to change because of the brain's plasticity and our ability to adapt to the environment we're around. But I don't know how that would play out. It'd be crazy. Just put yourself in the mind of that. Like, what would you do if the power went out today? Where would you go if the internet stopped working and the cell tower stopped working? You couldn't get into contact with your friend via phone. How would you link up with them to hang out? The critical thinking is just gone. It's been stripped from us, and I do believe that's by design. So it's a little bit easier to feed us either information or products that we just fall for, because then we feel the need for these products without thinking about the effective use or critically thinking about how we would implement them into our lives. We just buy. I think that's a huge part of consumer culture. You see something enough times, your brain just kind of shuts off and, oh, let me just try it. And there's really no thought behind it. Like, why do you want to try it? You just, let's get it. It's cheap enough. It'll be here in a day because the shipping is so fast, and that'll be it. In closing, though, I do just want to acknowledge that this doesn't apply to everyone. I do think a majority of the people, though, are kind of falling into the trap. But I also realize that our generation, at least from my perspective, a lot of people are getting out of it. And I think the opposite has kind of happened where we're reversing it. It is still fun to talk about, though, because I also do see a lot of idiots and people with 3-word vocabularies. And it's unfortunate. It really is an unfortunate thing. But what are you going to do about it? You kind of just got to do your own thing, grind, take care of yourself and your family and the people who want to do better with you. My closing thoughts, just stay educated, guys. Stay healthy. And it's really not hard. There is a framework for being successful or a framework to whatever you want to do. You can accomplish it. Just follow the framework. It's as simple as that. And if you feel like you're not on the right path or doing the wrong things, or maybe you could be better, doing better, look at some of the bad things you're doing and cut them out of your life. It's as simple as that. It's easier said than done, obviously, but it really is that simple. So just try to incorporate some of those practices. Like look up whatever your issue is, find some stuff to counteract that, and see what you can change in your day to day life. Because we need better people in society across the board. We need better civilians. We need better politicians. We need better bosses and managers. We need better friends. We need better family. We need better everything. I would just like if life, kind of felt like how it's portrayed or how it was portrayed to be in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s even, where everybody was there's just like a large ass community, everybody's friends. That's just the way it looked. I obviously wasn't there. And maybe that's just looking back at it with rose colored or rose tinted glasses. But I do think that now is extremely different, and it's by far it's easily not just something that people are looking back on with nostalgia, and there's actually a problem now. Not that there weren't problems before, but I think they're a lot worse now, and they're starting to show. But without further ado, I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you as always, and peace. I'll see you guys next Monday.